The following program is intended for mature audiences.
A democratic republic of sports. The Sportsocracy with ESPN Asheville hosts Tank Spencer and Jeremy Greene.
And welcome into the Sportsocracy. I'm Tank Spencer. Jeremy Greene is alongside, and we continue with our 2022 Post-Senior Bowl 7-round mock drafts as chosen by our very own Flo Stradamus. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, share it out with your friends as well. Every team will be covered right here in the Sportsocracy throughout Draftmas, and this the first of our 7-round mock drafts of the season. I'm Tank Spencer, and he's Jeremy Greene. And the New York Giants, a lot of people trying to squeeze in weapons with them, quarterback, something like that, in the first 7 picks of the draft. But the number one need they have is shoring up that offensive line. With the 5th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, they could take Jaquan Mcmillan, the guard at NC State.
And he's a guard. He can play right tackle. The best way for him to be the best player he can be is to come in and be a guard. The Will Hernandez experiment is over. The Nate Solder experiment is over. So now you have to figure out a way to build this line that will actually be conducive to using Saquon Barkley, who you used the 2nd pick in the draft on. That's the best way to put Daniel Jones in a position to succeed. Among the 62 qualifying running backs in the NFL last year, according to Pro Football Focus, where do you think Saquon Barkley ranked?
He had to be in the 40s.
58. There were 4 worse than him in the league.
Oh my.
And it's because the line was bad. Yeah. I think you have a piece in Andrew Thomas, but you have to solidify this line. There's this misnomer that tackles are just infinitely more important than interior linemen. And depending on the scheme, that can be true. It's not true with the 2nd pick, which is Iowa center Tyler Linderbaum.
Yeah.
If you look at analytics, centers are just as important to the conduciveness of especially of a heavy running offense as tackles are. Tyler Linderbaum is the highest rated center I have ever had. 6'3", 290 out of Iowa. Some people will say, oh, but he plays center. And it's so predictable. I knew this was coming. You'll start seeing him slide down the board, and it's just not going to happen. In this draft, there are so few players that are no-doubters. I know exactly what Jaquan Mcmillan is going to be. He'll be a 10-time Pro Bowler at guard if you play him at guard, 3 or 4-time Pro Bowler at right tackle if you play him over there. Linderbaum will probably be the starting center in whichever conference he goes to for the next 10 years. This solidifies that, opens up Saquon Barkley, and you basically get a 3rd pick in Barkley by solidifying the line.
All right, number 5, Jaquan Mcmillan. Number 7, Tyler Linderbaum. Their next pick comes up in the 2nd round. At number 36 overall, Boye Mafe, who you thought was going to go under the radar, but a big Senior Bowl from the Minnesota guy. It kind of ruined that for you.
I thought this would be somebody I could keep to myself, but then he came in and forced 2 fumbles in the Senior Bowl, had a huge week. He's very raw. He kind of reminds me of Odafe Owa that went to the Baltimore Ravens last year. You can tell that the technique is lacking at times. There are certainly things to round out with him, but he's 6'4", 255, and probably going to run around about a 4.5. Putting him on the other side of his Azeez Ojulari, no matter what kind of front Wink Martindale decides to use. He's been a 3-4 guy. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. If it does, the mock that I do after free agency and the combine will change. They'll need a nose tackle because they don't currently have one of those. You would have Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence playing the ends. You would need a true nose. But even if you do that, Boye Mafe can be absolutely scheme versatile. He's going to be a high-end pass rusher no matter where you line him up. Could get better against the run. Technique needs to get a little better. Tends to be a little upright. Can get blocked out of plays because he comes in so upright. But he is a relentless pursuit guy, and I think can be a high-level pass rusher in this league.
In the 3rd round, at pick number 67 overall, you got the Giants coming up with Quay Walker, linebacker out of Georgia.
The Walkers out of Georgia have something in common. They look like they should be phenomenal football players. I've just never seen high-level production.
Is that because they didn't get as many snaps?
No. The problem with Quay Walker is that he doesn't do anything particularly well except tackle. But if you were building a linebacker out of granite, he would look exactly like Quay Walker.
Right.
He's not very good in coverage. I've seen some flashes in rushing the passer, but to me, you put him next to a Blake Martinez inside this defense. They played very nickel heavy last year. Even if you play 3-4, he can play interior in a 3-4. Those two together, I'm not going to say it fixes your linebacker problem, but it certainly helps. As off-ball linebacker, not very good in coverage, and I don't know that he's ever going to be very good in coverage because it's not a technique thing. He's just not as fast as you would like him to be. I think he runs somewhere in the 4.7s at the combine. But other than that, this is going to be a tackle machine kind of linebacker, which is exactly what the New York Giants need.
That lack of speed got him in a lot of trouble at Georgia, picking up quite a few pass interference penalties when he was on the field. With the 81st pick overall in the third round, Jake Ferguson, tight end out of Wisconsin.
Well, the same thing I said about the Will Hernandez-Nate Solder experiment, I can say the same thing about Evan Ingram, because I guarantee you he will never play a snap for Brian Daboll. Doesn't fit in that system. Jake Ferguson does. This is a kid that's got really soft hands. He's a good enough blocker, and I think he can get much better. He's going to have to add weight at the NFL level. He's 6'5", about 240. I think he needs to play somewhere in the neighborhood of 255, 260. That will make him a better blocker. The technique's already there. He was taught how to block at Wisconsin. Not overly athletic. I mean, he's going to run 4.7s, 4.8s. He's a stereotypical old-school tight end. And for what Brian Daboll wants to do, I could see him being the Dawson Knox. Good enough blocker, really good hands, and just knows how to get open. You saw it in the Senior Bowl. Had a touchdown in the game, had a good week, and that moved him from the 7-8 range among tight ends to, I think, clearly at 4. And this could be the best tight end the Giants have had since Mark Bavaro. And, yes, I do remember Jeremy Shockey.
Wow. So not necessarily a pass-catching tight end.
But he could do all of the things. He's got very soft hands. He's a very good receiver. He's a good enough blocker.
Yeah.
But he can play in line, and I'm just really impressed by this kid's week at the Senior Bowl.
At 110 overall in the third round, you got him getting Alec Pierce, the wide receiver out of Cincinnati.
Well, they're going to have to add a weapon, and this is one that I look at and go, Kadarius Toney's going to man the slot. I've always liked what Sterling Shepard provides as a pass catcher. He just doesn't really do anything else. Yeah. He's not a good blocker. Alec Pierce is good enough. In a class full of receivers that are not good blockers, he's one of the better ones. 6'3", little slightly built. Would like to see him add a little bulk, maybe not weight, but actual bulk, because he looks thin, and that can lead to him getting pushed around. He's a very good deep threat. It's a guy I think could play on the outside, play in base formations with Kenny Golladay, and be a good enough blocker and enough of a weapon that it opens up the offense. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list. Kid deadlifts 675 pounds.
Jeez.
Vertical over 40 inches, ran a 4.45 in high school. So very versatile, little raw, and the production was never there. Mm-hmm. Never had over 900 yards in a season at Cincinnati. But I put some of that on Desmond Ridder. Never loved him as a passer, and just the offense. That was a team that played defense, kept the ball away from you, never really high-flying, and I think that's part of what's dinging Alec Pierce, but it doesn't bother me.
The Giants have 2 picks in the 5th round at 146 overall. Bailey Zappi, the quarterback out of Western Kentucky.
I refuse to call him Zappy. If you want to be called Zappy, put a Y on the end of your name. Bailey Zapp he's got a nice zip on the ball, not a huge deep ball arm, but being a Jets fan and having dealt with this stadium for the better part of the last 30 years, there are certain quarterbacks that go to New York and the ball just dies. I'm not sitting here telling you Bailey Zapp would be competition to Daniel Jones, because he wouldn't be, but he's a very high-level IQ kid. Produced everywhere he went, started at Houston Baptist, wound up at Western Kentucky, put up numbers everywhere he went. I think he's a career-long backup in the NFL, but he will help in the room. This is a kid that really understands the game of football. Everybody that talked to him at the Senior Bowl commented on how high-level his IQ was. Slightly faster than you expect, so he could actually play the Daniel Jones role if he needed to. I think he's a backup in this league, but if he was thrust into actually playing, he would be better than Jake Fromm.
Yeah, way better than anything that they have behind him. And, at playing at Western Kentucky, I know it's lesser competition, but he has 62 touchdown passes this past year. And we all saw what he could do in the bowl game when that happened. At number 172 overall in the 5th round, Jerome Ford, running back out of Cincinnati, a guy who can spell Saquon Barkley.
I think we've all seen that Saquon's never going to be the 20, 22, 24 carry a game guy. Saquon's wheelhouse is 20 to 22 touches. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to get somebody that runs between the tackles. Jerome Ford can do that. Started at Alabama, built like a brick shithouse. He's 5'11", about 210, and he's fast. Runs about a 4.3, 5.40. Built that way is incredibly impressive. Very good between the tackles. Doesn't offer much as a pass catcher. Can be a little indecisive. Saw that against Alabama. It's usually when they were just completely overmatched talent-wise. I like this kid. Don't think he'll be much of a third down. Some people think he's a 3-down back, and I think those people are drunk. But you've got Saquon Barkley, who's an elite pass catcher and a pretty good pass blocker. So this could be your first, second down, spell back kind of guy. And a great value in the 6th round.
Yeah, and a great goal line back as well. 180 overall in the 6th round. The final pick for the New York Giants, Jaquan Mcmillan out of East Carolina University.
The Fighting Mike Houstons, a team that I watch far more than most do. The thing about this kid is I don't see that he does anything overly well. Can't really figure out if he's going to play safety or if he's going to play corner. He's just very versatile. He's very athletic. 5'10", about $160. He's going to have to add weight to the frame. His best position is at safety, but he can slide down, defend in the slot. Did a pretty admirable job playing man press. He's just a weapon, and he's somebody that I could see Wink Martindale falling in love with because he has no bad habits. He moves all over the formation. Not the best blitzer you've ever seen, but I think he could learn that in size. Biggest thing, he's going to have to bulk up, and that's the reason he lasts till pick 180.
All right, there it is, your 7-round mock draft for the New York Giants. A whole lot of changes in that front office. We'll see if they can change the fortunes of this team after several losing seasons in a row. That is your 2022 post-Senior Bowl 7-round mock draft for the New York Giants. Of course, remember, subscribe to the channel. Share it out with your friends as well. Even if they're not Giants fans, we're going to cover their team all throughout Draftmas. I'm Tank Spencer. He's Jeremy Greene, and we will see you next time.